Major League Baseball is just around the corner at Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium. The Miami Marlins and St. Louis Cardinals are back in Jupiter for 2022. Come out and take in 30 games in 30 days and watch the teams as they face off against exciting opponents such as the New York Yankees, Boston Red Sox, Detroit Tigers, and more. Season tickets, mini plans, and group packages are available starting Tuesday, October 19th. To lock in your seats or to learn more, visit RogerDeanChevroletStadium.com or stop by the stadium ticket office.
That's not an egg frying. It's the Martin County real estate market, which is sizzling hot. Values are high and so is demand. Properties draw competitive offers within minutes of going public. A national website won't help you navigate this market. You need a local expert. You need Martin County Realtors of the Treasure Coast. Our members know the neighborhood, the communities, the natural resources. They'll help you discover the hidden gems and work hard to get the best price possible. Visit findalocalrealtorexpert.com.
Let's get ready to mortgage. He is the prince of programs, guru of guidelines, master of matrices. He puts the fun in funding. Please welcome Mark, Mr. Mortgage Eitel.
Hey, I'm Mark Eitel, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show, and keep in mind we have the Anytime hotline up and running, so you can call right in to the studio, 561-291-8569. That's 561-291-8569. You can get me anytime on that number. During the show, it rings right here into the hotline, or right here into the studio, a.k.a. the Anytime hotline, 561-291-8569, or as always, find us on the web at mr.mortgage. Leave off the .com. Just type in www.mr.mortgage. So, Saturday morning here, we had another interesting week in the market. So the jobless numbers were released yesterday. We had 467,000 new jobs created, which blew past all expectations, and the market reacted. We had a bump in the interest rate market because of it. So as the economy and COVID goes, so has interest rates of late. And as we seem to be moving through this Omicron variant with less effect than anticipated, hence the strong job numbers, we're seeing the interest rates try to stabilize and support this increased rate, if you will, that we're at. So rates still are experiencing that upward pressure. They stabilized a bit early in the week. They bumped a little bit yesterday. So I would get used to this being the new norm. You know, rates are going to be where they are here for a while. And as we talked about last week, there's really nothing on the horizon to interrupt that. Fed is doing their best to stabilize inflation, and the bond market is reacting. So rates are where they are. Housing or the jobless claims certainly did nothing to interrupt that. And I just wanted to jump back to last week real quick. I wanted to clean up one segment that I left a little bit unanswered. Last week I had mentioned that second home prices were going to increase, and I wanted to clarify that. I don't mean the homes themselves are going to increase, although they may with the way things have been appreciating. But I was speaking specifically to the mortgage product used to buy a second home. So Fannie and Freddie announced that the second home mortgage product is going to have a pricing increase. And that takes effects on loans that are closed after March 14th. You're seeing it now in your lock rates, but loans that can get closed prior to March 14th, you can forego that pricing increase. But it's going to be significant, and it's going to affect the cost of the mortgage for the second home. So I encourage anyone who has questions on that to give us a call. 561-291-8569 is the Anytime hotline, or Mr.Mortgage is the website. There's a contact us link there. So, and also too, during the week or even during the show, but during the week, if you have questions that you want addressed and you're not comfortable hearing your voice on the air, just shoot us a text or give us a call to that number. We'll be happy to incorporate your questions. We're going to cover a lot of topics this week. We're going to touch on things like the necessity to have a really good real estate agent on your team right now, especially on the buyer side, to craft the offer. We talked a lot last week about waiving appraisals, and we're going to talk this week about waiving the home inspection. But having an agent on your side that can craft the offer to incorporate these strategies is super important. And if you've got a great agent, that's awesome. But if you need one, we're happy to refer you to somebody. I have the benefit of working with a ton of agents. I've seen some really good ones. I've seen some really bad ones. I've seen a lot of mediocre agents, but I'm happy to guide you to somebody that will definitely take your best interest to heart. So we're going to cover that. We're going to look at things like reverse mortgages, and that may be an opportunity in this market. We've experienced a lot of appreciation. People have a ton of equity. Rates are still super low. So to hedge inflation, it might make sense to increase your monthly income with a reverse mortgage because, as we know, Social Security increases aren't outpacing inflation. And when you're on a fixed income, but you're sitting on a bounty of equity, cashing out and refinancing might not make sense. Selling and buying into this market might not make sense. But capitalizing on a reverse mortgage may make sense. So we're not going to go deep into that. That's a whole show on its own, but I'm going to cover a little bit of it. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. We're going to cover a few other points. We're going to take your questions. If you have them, text them in to 291-8569, or if you want to jump on the air with us, call us at 561-291-8569. So we're also going to touch on the appreciation that's forecasted to continue to grow. There were some reports this week that were just amazing. U.S. housing market gained almost $10 trillion in value. Now, that's the market as a whole. Some areas are certainly appreciating faster than others, but the U.S. housing market gained $10 trillion with a T dollars during the pandemic. So there's a ton of there's a ton of recently realized appreciation. So people are sitting on a lot of equity wealth that they didn't have as recently as 2 years ago. And we're going to cover that. We're going to go into how to find opportunity in this market. Oftentimes we get frustrated by things. We feel we're getting priced out of the market. Certainly the first-time home buyer is feeling the pinch. But if you are in a stable situation, you've got some equity, you're looking at other opportunities, maybe it makes sense to buy an investment property. There's a lot of new loan products that are available to capitalize on investment property. So we're going to cover the DSCR loan. That's a loan product that allows you to use the income from the property exclusively to qualify you for the necessary income to buy the property. So a DSCR loan is a great tool to use in this environment. And if you're able to, I know there's a lot of interest in becoming landlords of late. Second homes and investment properties jumped 85% year over year at the end of last year. So people are looking to that to provide additional income as well as capitalizing on future appreciation in real estate. And we're also going to cover some self-employed borrower loans, typically called a non-QM product. And we're not going to go into too many details on the non-QM space, but I just want to make people aware that as it's tax time, there's heightened awareness of how valuable a really good CPA or accountant is in writing off a ton of our income so we minimize our tax exposure. But in doing that, when a guy like me says, hey, you want to buy a piece of property? Let me see your tax returns. Oftentimes we're left with not necessarily your full income to qualify you because we're using the income on your tax returns. And I know there's a lot of add back, so we can take some of the write-offs that your CPA or accountant utilized and write them back in and count them as income. But oftentimes, especially with some very aggressive CPAs, we see people that aren't able to qualify. They may be able to pay for the loan, but they may not qualify for it on paper. In those instances, we have some alternative income verification loans. We can utilize bank statements to qualify you. So we'll cover some of the non-QM products that are designed for self-employed borrowers and try to find some of the opportunity that exists in the market today. We're still forecast to see some record appreciation moving into at least the first quarter of 2022. And then I think we're going to stabilize, as we talked about last week, into a 6 to 9% appreciation rate, which still gives us great equity wealth over a period of time. So stick with us. We're going to cover all those topics and answer your questions here on this show. Give us a call at 561-291-8569 or visit the website, www.mr.mortgage. You can always submit your questions. We'll be right back to cover those topics and answer your questions right after this break. Thanks. Quick question. Do you have any idea what your home is actually worth in this market? I mean, things have been appreciating so quickly. I know a lot of people turn to the internet and those online estimates, but I wanted to share with you a powerful tool that we use every day in our lending practice. We have a valuation tool that generates a robust 10 to 15 page detailed property valuation report. It's not quite an appraisal, but it's way more accurate and detailed than one of those online estimates. And I'd like to make that available to you, one of our valued listeners. Just visit the website freevaluereport.org. That's freevaluereport.org. There you'll be prompted to answer a few questions about your property. That's it. We'll do the rest. We're happy to send you the report. Just visit freevaluereport.org. And thank you for being a listener of the Mr. Mortgage Show. Are you a rock star real estate agent? I mean, truly one of the best? If you are, let's talk. This is Mark Eitel, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show, and we are currently expanding our network of rock star referral partners. If you think you have what it takes, we'd love to connect. Just visit Mr.Mortgage. That's www.mr.mortgage. There's no .com. Just type in Mr.Mortgage, hit the contact us button, and let's talk. It's not every day that you need an appraisal, whether it's for a divorce settlement, estate planning, or maybe you're appealing a tax assessment, or you just want to make sure you have adequate coverage in your property insurance. When you need a certified appraisal, turn to my friends at soflappraisal.com. That's soflappraisal.com. Peter and his team have been appraising properties here in South Florida for decades. soflappraisal.com. And tell him you heard this on the Mr. Mortgage Show.
Welcome back to the Mr. Mortgage Show. Call us now, 561-291-8569.
All right, so we are back. Again, my name is Mark Eitel, host of the Mr. Mortgage Show, and you can call us at 561-291-8569. That's the anytime hotline, but during the show, it rings right here at the studio. So give us a shout, 561-291-8569, or as always, visit the website, www.mr.mortgage. Again, there is never, ever, ever a .com after mortgage, just mr.mortgage. And you'll find the website there. So we alluded in the first segment to some opportunities in the market, and I wanted to talk about the DSCR loan because while it's not a new product, it's got some fairly new guidelines to it. So DSCR simply means debt service coverage ratio. So when you're buying an investment property, traditionally the investor or the lender rather is looking at the cash flow that the property generates as income to satisfy the loan payment. So I like to always tell my stories in very round numbers. So while these probably aren't actual rental rates of today's market, it's easier to tell the story. So just bear with me. If you're buying a rental property and the loan payment, including the principal, the interests, the taxes, the insurance, if there's any homeowners association fees associated with that, you want all those lumped into one payment, one amount rather. If that payment is $1,000, typically the rent would have to be $1,250 for that to be considered cash flow even from the lender standpoint. And the reason they had done that was they want to make sure that you have enough capital or enough cash flow in the property to offset vacancies and repairs as necessary. Well, the new DSCR loan products allow that to be a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you bought a property that had $1,000 monthly payment associated with it and $1,000 a month in rent, that's considered cash flow even from the lender standpoint, and they'll fund against that transaction. Now, there is a credit score requirement and there is a down payment requirement but it broadens the availability for investors to take advantage of the market that we're in. And the market that we're in is experiencing historic rent increases as well as appreciation. And in some